What if your business failures weren't signs to stop, but invitations to rise differently? My guest today, Shannon Jamail, knows what it's like to chase success, lose alignment, and rise again with clarity and purpose. This conversation will change how you view failures and how you can actually turn those failures into information, not take it personally, and do all the beautiful things. We also dive into her human design chart, and she's a projector, and really how she can utilize her voice to create this alignment, to create impact and change everything in her personal and professional life. All right, we're going to jump into your peace investment for today, giving you 2 minutes to pause, to bring peace into your body so that you can really listen to this episode and know exactly what you need to do to change, to support yourself better, to lean into your strengths and your gifts. This peace investment is everything, y'all. Okay, I do these peace investments multiple times throughout the day in order to create more success in my life with joy and bliss and peace and all the beautiful things. So just give me 2 minutes, and I know you're multitasking and you're doing lots of things, but let's tap into this moment, okay? If you're sitting down, you can close your eyes, otherwise it's okay. And bring attention to your body. Inhale through your nose. Hold and exhale. Let's do that again. Inhale, exhale. As you exhale, release the pressure to prove anything. Prove it to yourself, to prove it to others. Release that proving as a badge of honor. Inhale more peace into your body, into those areas that are tense. Exhale that proving. Inhale peace. Exhale perfection. Inhale peace. Allow it to come to all those edges, tension, wherever that is. And exhale, overworking. Inhale, peace. Exhale, anything that's interfering with your peace. And now ask yourself, what am I proud of myself for today? Big or small? Maybe it's getting out of bed, getting ready for the day. Maybe it's a program, or it's a way that you showed up for your job. Feel into that gratitude. Celebrate yourself. Allow that joy to go throughout your whole body, from the top of your head all the way down to your toes. All right, rub your fingers together and gently feel the fingertips, your fingers, and the texture there, the presence there. Take another deep breath, and when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Good job! Way to go! Way to bring more peace into your body. I am so excited for us to jump into this episode and to show how peace can really show up in your body. So my family and I just took a trip to Colorado, and I was having all this travel anxiety and overthinking things and just worried about how it would go. And I remembered that even if it goes badly, like if I have a bad day, if I have my energy is really low, that it's going to be okay, that I'm surrounded by the people I love, and that we're going to have a good time. And I was reminded too, I was like, I need to ask for what I need. Do you know what I'm saying? And so just being aware of asking for what I need is good, and using my voice to bring more support to what I need. And people are super happy to help. Joining me today is Shannon Jamail. She is the founder and creator of the Mind and Body Complete family of companies, which includes her retreat center, retreat ranch just outside of Austin, Texas. She is the best-selling author, podcast host, retreat leader, therapist turned mentor, yoga teacher trainer, and tequila connoisseur. I can't wait for you guys to jump into this episode to help you to embrace that failure is about learning, and to embrace your human design even more. Make sure if you haven't gotten your human design that you look in the show notes and pull it from my site, and I'll give you some deeper insights into how you can align yourself for peace and ignite your success even more. All right, we'll see you in the episode. Shannon, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. I'm so excited to have you on.
Oh my gosh, I can't tell you how much I've been looking forward to this. Our first conversation just lit a fire under me, and I was so excited to connect. So I can't wait to chat.
This is going to be so great. And I can't wait to jump into your human design, but I really want to hear your story too. You've had some business ventures that didn't go as planned. So what happened, and tell us what happened with those.
Well, I'm not a big believer in the word failure. I just shy away from that completely. For me, it is all learning, and that has become somewhat cliche, but I really do believe our best growth and learning comes through difficulties, challenges, etc. I feel like I'm still failing. Like my business has like amazing days and months and even years. And then there's times where I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to shut the fucking door and call it a day. You know what I mean? I don't know that it's like this happened this one time and then that's it. I've never, failed again. I think it's just still happening. I still come up with things where one example is I thought a silent retreat would be good. I'm not a silent person, so why I thought that a silent retreat would be like good, because I host retreats around the world, and I just thought,
Yes.
This would be such a girl. That was not good. There was nothing for me. Now listen, there's some beautiful, amazing silent retreats out there, and they're so spectacular, and the host probably aligns with that. I don't think we as humans should be doing things that we don't feel in our body that's in alignment with who we are. I thought my audience would like it, so I did one. That's just a sign right there. If you're not feeling it in your body, if you're not feeling it in alignment, that doesn't mean you're not afraid. Of course, we do things afraid all the time. But you could feel the difference. I felt it when I started designing it. I felt it when I started marketing it. I felt it when people were registering. And I'm like, how in the hell? What was I thinking? Anyway, and so I've just, throughout my whole career, and I've had several careers. I used to be in sales and marketing and corporate world. I used to own a chain of children's art studios. I was a mental health therapist and had a practice for a while, and now a retreat leader, a retreat teacher that teaches other people how to host retreats, and a venue owner. And honestly, throughout every one of those careers, I have experienced failure. 100%, whether it was a launch of something new that I thought would be great. And there are times where I really thought something would be great. When I owned the children's art studio, I opened a second location that was booming. And the time it was up in North Dallas, I'm like, for sure, this location is going to boom. A year later, I closed it. Like, it did not boom. It just was like, and now, believe it or not, that area is booming. But of course, it's like 20 years later. I really felt that was going to happen. So sometimes you do feel it, and I still think you should go for it. When you feel it and you feel in alignment, you should go for it, because what I learned, Courtney, in that year of struggle of trying to keep that location open taught me such appreciation in so many different ways. The business learning that I got out of it, the day-to-day, I can't tell you, I got so much out of that year and so much out of having to close it. Sure, there was some pain involved. There always is when it comes to those types of things. But man, now with the learning that I've had in that space, when I go into new partnerships or new ventures, I've got that learning to fall back on, right? I really do. And so again, I don't feel like that was a failure. I thought it was amazing. Plus, I met amazing people in that year, and like so many good things happened out of that time space. So to answer your question, Courtney, very, very long, is I've had a lot of failures, and I plan to have a lot more failures. They come in small failures, big failures. I've been on the brink of bankruptcy at least twice in my business, and I'm not afraid of it though, on the other hand, which is why sometimes I do things I probably shouldn't, like when I don't feel alignment. I'm going to do things when I do, and they might not always succeed, but I'm not afraid of it. I'm grateful that my partner, my husband, is also not afraid, because we're kind of like, I think the only thing I'm afraid of, Courtney, is going to my deathbed and regretting I didn't try something. If I wanted it, like if I really felt it and it was in my body and I wanted it and then I don't do it, that scares me more than doing it and it flopping on our face. I think the difference is, though, now as I'm getting older and I'm getting into that third phase of life, is like, I don't care what people think now. I think maybe a lot of times we're worried, especially in the business world, those in our 20s and 30s and 40s, we're worried like, well, people are going to see this and they're going to see that I'm going to fail, right? And now I don't give a shit. Like, I'm going to try something, and then I'm going to say, I'll come back and say, hey, that did not work, y'all. That did not work, but let me teach you why it didn't work. You know what I mean? Let me get the learning from this for you. And then I'm going to show you why it didn't work, what adjustments I could have done, or should I just not have done it because I didn't feel it. And so yeah, I mean, I'm going to continue to fail, and that's okay.
Yeah. And I think that the word failure needs to be rebranded into some other word that's not negative, because it's definitely not a negative thing to try something, to be brave enough to try something, and then have it go a different outcome and learn from that, Like,
yes.
It's such a beautiful way to learn. And I think the only way that I really learn stuff is through failing, through messing up, through not working out, and then seeing a different angle of how it could work out and how it could do these things. One of the things I think with female founders that they struggle with is taking the failure personally, identifying with it, because this work is really our own, right? How do you navigate that?
I think, first of all, you're absolutely right. I think what you got to do is you have to pull it out, almost like pull this quote unquote failure, pull this out and look at it as if your best friend did it. Right? And your best friend did this. Would you think she is a failure, or would you think that that choice that she made probably could have been made differently, or could, other factors on the outside could have been done differently, like whatever it is. But you pull it out and pretend like your best friend or whomever you love the most in your life, pretend like they did it, and how would you view it then? And then you can kind of break it down a little less personal. The other thing is just make it into facts. This is this fact, this is this fact, this is this fact. I'm not trying to be sexist, I swear, because it can go both ways, but I think men do a really good job of that, right? They just break it down to facts. Okay, I invested this much, it didn't go well, so now I'm going to switch gears and go over here and do this, and then I did this, and that didn't go. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. They don't take it personal. Very rarely. I'm sure there's a small part they are disappointed, the choice that was made, but I don't feel like they let it tear down who they intrinsically are, like we do as females. We take whatever choice we made that didn't go well, and when it doesn't go well, it's like, I'm not good enough. Not that the business thing wasn't good enough, it's I'm not good enough. And that I call bullshit, but that is what happens.
Yeah. So when people are getting that thought of like, I'm not good enough and whatever, like a project or a launch or an offer, how can we retrain that to be like, it's not me, I'm not the problem. I don't,
Yeah. I think you have to question it, right? So you have to we will look for validation and truth in our thoughts. And so when that comes up, when it's, I'm not good enough, it's like, is that true? Let's find other ways where that's not true, right? What's the counter evidence to that? You've had this success here. You've had this success here. You've had this success here. And so it's just finding the counter evidence to that thought. And just questioning it. We don't spend enough time questioning our thoughts. If our thoughts come up that we're lazy or that we're too fat or that we're whatever the thing is that just tears down, our love for ourselves and our love for who we are, whatever that thought is, we just roll with it rather than going, that's not true. Come on, is that true? What's the counter evidence to this? What's the counter evidence to that? And so I think it's just questioning it and then finding the counter evidence to that, because there's plenty of counter evidence out there. We just have to focus on that rather than this choice, this business choice that was made that didn't equate the way we wanted it. And then but I also have to say, we can also go back and look at, I'm sure you could too, Courtney, everything that quote unquote went wrong in our business or our life, we can now look at it and go, oh no, that needed to happen, right? Like that needed to happen. That quote unquote failure, that broken relationship, that fall, that whatever that was, that business failure, whatever that was, we can look like, I am so glad that I have had the failures I have had, genuinely, right? And I look back and I'm like, ooh, because that quote unquote failed, I got this instead. And that's really what worked out well. You know what I mean?
Totally. Well, I look at the first business that I was launching was around social media and helping female founders have a voice online. And through that, someone was like, hey, what's your human design? And I'm like, what? What is that word? Because I must know. And then I dove into it, and then during that process, I was like, what am I doing building a social media thing? I mean, that's cool and all. And I have loved connecting with other women through social, but I'm like, this is what I've been really wanting to do. So, but when I decided, I was like, well, I kind of have built this program. I should launch it, I mean, come on. And I did. And I got a 0. I got so much engagement during the event and all these people, but then no one wanted to go and pursue it. And it really made me think well, maybe I just was doing what I thought I should be doing because I have a marketing background and it's, a lot of similarities there. But once I thought, what do I really want? What is really calling to me in my soul? It was human design. And then everything jumped from that point of success. And it really is trusting myself to know, okay, I think I know the wisdom that's in my soul. I think I can trust it to tell me the direction I need to go into. I can keep tapping into that when I get freaked out in my mind. Keep remembering, we got this. It's going to be okay. And go forward with that, But I think for women who are in this freak out moment, because there's a lot of stress and there's a lot of anxiety, especially because it's we are here to make money, like that's what
Yes.
we're here to do, is to make
Yes.
the money. But that can get in our heads a lot. So what would you say to people who are like emotionally and energetically not feeling like they are, I guess, worthy enough to make the money at the thing they want to do?
Gosh, get me started on money, especially with women. There's so many money blocks. It's just, it just drives me insane. And in a way that I'm like, I want to shake women and be like, oh my gosh, you are so worthy. The first thing you want to do is question, like, where did this stem from, right? It's always about the questioning. But when a money block comes up of any way, and it's usually worthiness, it's usually, oh, that's too much money, or I just need enough, or nobody's going to pay for that, or whatever it is that's in there. You really got to question, where the hell is that coming from? Where is that coming from? And a lot of times it's even, sadly, women tearing down women. Even it's just, and that it's a whole nother thing. But just questioning where that is coming from, because one of my big things that I really work on with the people that I work with is, we are here to make a lot of money. And I mean a lot of money. And people who are like, well, that's just greedy, or, whatever thoughts you're having, money is not the issue. It's how you're feeling is the issue. Money doesn't make you a bad person. You're going to be a good person or a bad person with or without money. Money just is an expander. It's just going to make you a bigger good person or a bigger bad person. Money is not the thing. But making a shit ton of money means you get to bless a whole lot more people too, right? Because when you're making a lot of money, you not get to bless your family? Do you not get to buy things from people who then are getting blessed by your purchase? Do you not get to hire more people that then are blessed by having that job? Do you not get to offer more scholarships or donating to more organizations that you love? Whatever that is, you make a shit ton of money, and you expand that goodness for yourself and your family and everybody that you get to bless when you hand them part of that money that you have made. And so it's questioning, it's owning it, it's doing some rewiring and some reworking, it's working with a mentor or a coach or whoever. It's also not surrounding yourself with naysayers who are going to tear you down about money. It's not listening about the economy, because here's the other thing, and this is quite feather ruffling. I don't buy into the economy. I don't buy into the world. I don't buy into any of that, okay? I'm not saying there's not bad shit going on in the world. There is absolutely horrible things going on in the world. There will always be horrible things going on in the world, sometimes worse than others, but that's always going to happen. The economy between our ears is way more powerful than any economy happening around the world, period. I have sold luxury retreats at the worst time of quote-unquote recession and at the best time, and I have clients who do the same. People still want to purchase. There are people who still will purchase in any economy, in any world dynamic, anytime. There were still people making a lot of money during COVID. There were new businesses that were birthed during COVID. There were new millionaires made during COVID. Does that take away or minimize that there were terrible things happening? No, that's not what I'm doing. What I'm saying is, don't let that bullshit talk that gets into the media and that people try to tear you down and take away your gifts, the economy between your brains, right here, or between your ears. That's the one. And so, yeah, it's rewiring, it's reworking, it's surrounding yourself with the right people, it's listening to the right things. Don't listen to those podcasts that are telling you how terrible the world is and that you can't make any money in this economy. I see the posts online with all these women like, nobody's signing up for my retreat because of the economy. Bullshit, because mine are selling out, okay? And they're more expensive. And so, no, you cannot listen to the naysayers, and you've got to question this stuff. And, you just got to stay with your passion and your why and drown out the rest.
Yes, drown out the rest. It's almost like just putting on blinders and not thinking or letting those outside influences have an influence in what you're meant to do,
Yeah.
Like, run the numbers, feel in tune with the price, and go for it. And
Yes.
It's not about the price. It's never about the price. It's like the value that people see coming through it. And yeah, it's all up there,
It's the value. It is the value. I literally have clients who are selling $5,000 retreats, and then some that are selling $25,000 retreats. And there's some who are selling more, okay, that are even above $25,000 retreats. It's never about the dollar amount. It's one, are you speaking to the right demographic, right? Are you even in the right demographic? But also, does the person who could purchase, do they see the value? Are you positioning the value, or are you just positioning yourself? Because that's whole different thing, right? Are you speaking to what they need and what they want, or are you speaking to how great you are? And that's a whole nother thing. It's marketing. It's who you're speaking to. It's how you're talking to them. But to your point, it's never, ever the dollar amount. What I will say this, though, if you don't believe in that dollar amount, it's going to be felt outside. So for instance, Courtney, if you've got coaches who are listening to this and their package starts at, I don't know, $10,000, right? Whatever it is. If they're like, oh gosh, who's going to pay that? I don't know if it's okay, well, you know what? You're right. It's not going to sell because you don't believe it. And how in the hell is somebody going to pay for that when the person charging it doesn't believe it? You've got to do exactly what you said, which is you own it. Like, what's my number that's going to make me happy that also reflects an energetic exchange for my experience and for my knowledge and for all of that stuff? What's the number that is going to make me happy? And then you own the shit out of that. Like, you just boldly, proudly say, this is how much it costs to work with me, and this is why you want to work with me, and not about me, but about them, because you, as the client, are going to receive X, Y, Z. It's going to change how you feel. It's going to change how you move. It's going to change your business, et cetera, and so forth. So yeah, own that shit.
Yes, totally. Well, and this goes totally in line with your human design. I'm so excited to jump into your human design, your chart, the gifts that you were born with, and this powerful voice that you bring to the table, and especially this powerful vantage point that you bring to the table. So you are a projector. This is your human design type. This is how you operate in the world best, gifts that you bring to the world as well. And so the mantra for this is, people are powerfully impacted by my wisdom. You are here to guide, not grind. Your gift is seen clearly and efficiently. You have this gift of strategy. So projectors are really good at being like, okay, we either as a mentor or you're coaching people or an organization, seeing, hey, we're here at this point A, and we want to get to point Z. How do we get there the best? What are the things and the tools and the efficiencies that we need to get there quickly with all these efficiencies? You have this gift of strategy of helping other people when they're stuck in their own head, as we talked about, and in their own goals. How has this gift of strategy helped you, especially mentor other people?
You know, I've always been in a leadership role of some way and not even realizing it. And so I think for me, probably because of some of my history, I'm able to really, really feel what someone's feeling and what they're almost thinking. And I'm able to then take that in a lot of ways and say, okay, Courtney, I can feel your insecurity in this situation. Let's work on that. And let's get to this other place that you want to be. Or I can be like, Courtney, I really feel your frustration in this XYZ. So let's work on that so we can get to your goal. So it's that empathetic feeling thing part about me that I think is what helps my projector to be able to say, okay, Courtney, you're not going to get here because you're stuck over here in this thing that's going on. And sometimes I can feel it, but I can't identify it. I'll even say, Courtney, I'm not sure what the block is, but I can feel this block. Something in you is not believing that you can get to this, whatever it is that you want. And we got to get there, right? And so then I can be the cheerleader from there or strategist. But I would guess, projector, birth chart, I think, to just the experience of going through, some of the, we'll call it traumas or whatever from my youth, that it just allows me to be empathetic and really tune into like, okay, I could tell this person is on the brink of like breakdown. We've got to figure this out. Are they in the right role? Do they need to be in a different role? This role just does not align with them. And by the way, that's okay.
Yes.
When you're in the wrong role, that's okay. Or when you're trying to force something and it's just not fitting, it's okay to pivot, like you mentioned earlier, and make a change. That doesn't mean you're giving up on a dream. That just means you're pivoting and making a change. But I can feel that. Like I can feel when someone needs to make a pivot or if I need to help them make that pivot. In other words, like if they're in my organization, it's like, okay, this is not working. Let's talk about why and let's talk about what we're going to do from here on out.
Yes. And that's another layer of your gifts. You have a great ability to read the room, to feel what other people are feeling and sensing this unspoken conversation, being able to be in tune with what is happening without having someone vocalize it. Because sometimes it is hard to understand, like, what's going on in here?
Yeah.
Where are we going to next and all the things. And now one of the other things with being a projector is you have ebbs and flows of energy. In the typical business world, there's lots of people who get behind this mantra of like, you need to go, go, go all the time. We need to be hustling. We need to be grinding this out. And you and I are the same. So as a projectors, our energy comes in waves, just like the ocean. Sometimes it's going to be riding high and sometimes it's going to be low. and having these ebbs and flows of energy. How do you support yourself through these ebbs and flows of energy?
It's funny, Courtney. I think for a long time I thought I was just bipolar.
Yeah.
Because it really is. It really is. So I think part of it is not fighting it. Because for the longest time, my highs I love. I actually thrive off of the highs. I know some people are like, gosh, it's exhausting. I thrive off of it. I'll work. I could do a 24-hour, like I'm full of creative fire and spirit and holy shit, I could just go. But when the lows were lows, I would fight it and force it. Kind of like you mentioned, like you still need to show up. Well, guess what? When you show up in that headspace, it's felt and things don't work out the way you want. And you're creating things that don't actually align. And the messaging just comes off. Everything just feels off. You and I have seen that too in other people where they're like their post or whatever, their interaction, their energy. And then all of a sudden there's this weird fucking almost scarcity mindset, something weird. And then back to what, okay. And so I've learned that when I'm in that, my husband even calls it, it might be a gray day. But when I'm in a gray day, I just shut everything off. I ask my assistant to do what needs to be done because I don't think as business owners we get to disappear. And that's just my personal thing. I don't feel like we can completely disappear, or at least our business cannot disappear, because otherwise that is a struggle to just rebuild the consistency, the algorithms and all the things. And if you have to, then honor that and do that. But I think if you can at all afford to have either an intern or an assistant or someone that can still show up and answer questions, that can still show up and do some recycling of your posts, because you can go back and pull some of the old posts and recycle them and bring them forward. It doesn't mean you have to make shit up. It just means you can recycle what's already there. But I do think someone should do the bare minimum of showing up. But me and you as projectors, we should not be creating. We should not be collaborating. We should not be project management in that really low period, because what's going to come out is not our best. It just isn't. It's going to be what we've forced through. And that recently my mom died, and of course, that triggered on a low. It wasn't like my normal ebb and flow. It just triggered on a low. And I just made it really clear with some partners that I've been working with and some things in the making that, I'm probably going to take the month of July, for most of July at least, or at least the second half of June into the right now, actually. And I'm just going to take that time and just not create. I'm just going to, recycle. I'm going to show up where on the days that I feel good, I'm showing up on that day. And the day that I'm not, my assistant's going to do it for me. And so I'm not going to create what we planned we were going to create until the end of July. And they were like, absolutely got it. So communication, honoring how you're feeling, fully show up and ride that ride when you are riding it. You know what I mean? And then do your very best to not create and not collaborate when you're really low, and have someone just show up for you as much as possible with whatever's within your budget or your means. Ask your partner, ask a mentor, ask somebody to help you at least still have a presence, so that you don't lose any traction that you get. Because that's the other thing. When you then come out of that low and you are back into that space, you're feeling like you're starting over again, and you don't want that either, if at all possible. So it's honoring it. So now I don't fight it. I know when I'm, and it's weird, Courtney, I don't know if it is the same for you. I'll literally go to bed on a high and I'll wake up like no reason. I don't fucking remember a dream. I don't know. I just woke up and I'm like, nope, today's not the day, And yes. So that day I'm going to go hang out with my horses. I'm going to go hang out with the dumbest animals on the planet, which are chickens, but they're really fun to watch. And my puppies, my dogs, like I'm going to go do things that fill my cup. I'm going to, or nothing. I'm going to nap, whatever it is. And I'm going to have someone else take up the reins for me for that. I'm grateful now, I think, because I don't fight it. It lasts. It's so short. It's sometimes a full 24 hours. Sometimes it might do 2, maybe 3 days. And part of that, Courtney, might be because we project so much that it's just our body's way of saying we got to rest.
Yes. Well, and it really is about not being hard on ourselves for what we need. I think that message is so destroying, is saying when our bodies are like, I just need a break, or I just need, to do something nice for myself. And then we jump into get it together. Would you just do this? Could you just do this? And I do that same thing too. And I have to stop myself and say, wait a second, am I dishonoring who I really am? And does that send a signal to my body that you are not good enough for me to listen to? Your needs emotionally, physically are not good enough for me to listen to. I'm just going to power through that. What distrust that builds with these messages, and we really need to honor ourselves. And for your strategy, for your next level with being a projector, is really how you make things happen is by connection. Building those connections, building those collaborative efforts is how you build things and make things fast. And so honoring that is really the way that projectors can next level their success with peace and joy and not with this struggle. So another part on your chart is your profile. Now, a profile is made up of two numbers. Yours is a 3-5, and this is called the Great Life Experimenter. It just tells you more of the gifts that you were born with, the characteristics that you have, more of your processes that you go through. And so this 3 is really about this experimenter. You love to experiment and really understand, like, get in there, experiment with what works and what doesn't. This also is really charming. Like, people love to hear this process and they love to understand, embrace the messiness, because everybody's life is messy. We just don't always talk about it because their perfectionist little voice is like, be perfect, but it's part of your process is to be magnetic through this experimentation. This number 5 is the liberator. So you really love to save the day. You love to help others and you're naturally likable. So what's one messy moment that taught you something that you couldn't have learned any other way?
Oh gosh, there's so many. There's so many. There really are so many. I guess, I've had some difficult guests who have attended some of my retreats, some of them in a somewhat violent capacity, and doesn't happen very often. In the 15 years I've been hosting, I've had 3 guests where it's like, okay, and one that we actually had to physically remove from the property. Each of those times, though, it was like it strengthened me for other things, right? And it was able to give me signals to look for in the future. This person is acting similar to that one person. Why don't I take them to the side and see if I can nip something right away? Or even before they show up and be like, there's some signs I'm getting even in our pre-retreat communication that they might not be ready for this experience and they might need to hold off. So anyways, that's what comes to mind for me now is there's just those 2 or 3 people that just were really, really difficult at the time. But I wouldn't change it now. I mean, I've changed my business model because of it in a good way. Because I've learned some things, like when I do international retreats now, if I don't know you, we have to have a Zoom call first so that I know I'm not trapped in another country with someone who just is not going to be in alignment with how we operate. And so it's changed some business things in such a good way, in such a necessary way that I wouldn't have done, had they not happened. And now I'm able to prevent things, not just for myself in the future, but also the people I work with. It's like, hey, here's something to think about. If you're on an island in a jungle and somebody decides to get crazy with you, what are you going to do? And so, yeah, so I would say that's probably what comes to mind the most. But honestly, I have difficulties all the time, and I just don't shy away from them now. It's more like, okay, we're going to buckle down in this situation. I'm going to lean on what I've experienced in my past, and then we're going to see what we can learn from this so that it doesn't happen again, if at all possible.
Yeah, and not taking it personally that it's happening, because it's just part of the process, like understanding things go sideways and we don't know what we don't know. I think that is the huge thing, is we don't know what we don't know. And especially for you, learning these things and then sharing them with others is such a way that you bring such an example to other people, and you share your learned wisdom. Now, when a lot of people have this liberator part of them that they're just like, I love helping others, how do you learn to say no even when you could help or you could save the day,
This is just now happening, to be quite honest with you. I'm hitting my and now I'm like, okay, I think I told you too before we started recording, I'm really narrowing down my focus. So prior to this, yeah, I definitely was, it borders on the line of people pleasing. It's like, okay, I've got to be able to help them. They need my help and I can help them. Today, I can honestly say I say no to more things than not. And I definitely say no to more things than yes. I'm super, super particular. It's that whole thing of like, if it's not a hell yes, then it's I'm sorry no. And I am a person that will say I'm sorry no. I know they're like, well, then you should just not apologize. You just say hell no. Well, no, they're coming to you with their heart and they're really wanting your help and your assistance, and they look up to you or whatever it is. And it's like, man, I really wish that I could do this for you, but this isn't the time and space for me. Perhaps I can send you in a different direction to somebody else or some other resource. But anyway, so it's just now, Courtney, happening where I'm like, yeah, that doesn't feel full alignment. We get people all the time who want to do business ventures together. And it's like, yeah, if I don't truly, truly feel it in every part of my body, then it's a no. And so, yeah, I want to also, though, that also tells people that I do work with, Or like Courtney spending this time together with you, like I'm showing up a full hell yes then. You know what I mean? Like I'm here. I'm excited. I'm excited to work with you. I'm excited to do things. And so when I do show up, it's going to be full on Shannon, and I'm showing up fully for you. And so I want to be able to do that too with the people I do work with. But for the most part, I'm being super protective of my time, my energy, and my schedule. I'm also getting into that stage of life too where I'm less is more. And so I want to have more time with my grandbabies and more time with my adult children and my 2 teens that are still at home. I've only got a few years left with them before they move out. And so I'm just getting super protective about my time that I just didn't have that, I think, knowledge or foresight when I was younger. And now today I'm like, no, my time is on lockdown.
Yes, it is. It's precious. And it's even more clear that not everything is possible in the certain time frames. And that's okay. And really getting clear and trusting and honoring yourself, again, your inner wisdom that, hey, I know where I want to go. And this is either it or it's not it. And I know that especially with your projector energy in those ebbs and flows, you want to show up fully as yourself in those moments where you're finding the joy and the happiness and the peace. And that can't be all the time, you know? And so really honoring yourself. And the strategy to take this even further is with a 3-5 is to drop the perfectionism. You know, we as human beings want to be perfect at things. We want to look cool. We want to look good. But dropping that perfectionism talk and really realizing that's an interference into our success and into our peace. And so it doesn't get to have a voice in our lives. You know, that perfectionism, it's going to try and have a voice. But again, we get to say, no, that's not a truth. I'm not listening to that. This is not part of who I am. So now when I was looking at your human design chart, I was like, this girl has so many defined centers. Now, if you look at the body graph part, a defined center is colored in green. And for a projector, typically a projector, like I have only 2 green centers. You have a lot of green centers, which gives you one of your green centers that gives you a little more energy is your willpower center. So that means you always have the gift of willpower. It's always on. It's always giving you this next well of energy. Well, one of the other centers that you have that is always there for you, it's always a gift that's always on, is your emotional center. And the mantra for this is, I trust my emotions to reveal truth in time. So your emotional center is like gives you even more highs, it gives you even more lows, and it allows you also to have real deep connection with others and see they're either overwhelmed or they're in burnout or whatever they're going through. It gives them an opportunity for you to see that in your soul. Now, these patterns of your own emotional waves will play into that as well, as you feel the highs, you feel the lows, just like an ocean, and it rocking back and forth. And that can be exhausting too, let's be honest, right?
Yes.
How has your emotional patterns impacted business decisions?
Probably in way more ways than I would want, for sure. I think kind of like we mentioned earlier, when I am feeling the feels, sometimes I don't know if I'm feeling my feeling or someone else's. They can get a little cloudy. Like my husband comes to me with such excitement. He's so excited about this new whatever. I'm like, am I excited or am I excited for him? Or am I just feeling his excitement? You know, and so I'm sure, I can't think of anything in particular, but I just know myself and I know that for sure that emotional investment plays a part. I think I can tell when it was mine or someone else's, or if I was just in some funk state, is after I've made a decision, how do I feel then? And then I'm like, if I still am feeling that same alignment, okay, great. I was feeling into what I wanted to feel. I've got, or was, you know, is there now this other fear? And I don't mean the fear of like excitement, that's different, but is there this other fear, this instant regret, or this like, you feel it. I don't even know how to describe it. All my stuff's centered in my stomach. So it's like right away, my stomach, is it roiling? Is it bubbling? Is it painful? Is it tight? Is it, you know, whatever. And that is a super strong signal to me that I made a decision feeling something totally different. And so I don't know that there's anything particular, but I know that it's there. And I try to then get quiet and say, okay, what's really going on? And I try to block out what I'm feeling from other people, their expectations, their excitement, their fears, their whatever, and tune into what am I feeling? Because that's the other thing, is I do let other people's emotions jump into my emotions. And so I have to be really conscious of that.
Yeah. And that is a struggle, especially with like people pleasing and wanting to overgive, and really that mindset of sometimes those can be really interferences into what is really your emotions and what someone else's emotions. And you're feeling your own waves emotions and then carrying other people's emotions at the same time. And really what is so impactful for this center is, and you make the best decisions, is when you come to this place of contentment. So when it feels like the ocean is at this, like place of softness and stillness, and that feeling is kind of what you want to latch onto when you're making these decisions. And that takes time. So the real strategy behind this is, okay, I need to give myself more time to make a decision. Oftentimes in business, there's these mantras that go around like, we should be concise, we should make decisions right away. And I'm like really anti making decisions right away, And especially for an emotional inner authority, sometimes it's going to be hours, days, a month. And that's okay because the time is on our side. And when we believe that time is on our side and time is working for us, everything comes to us in the timeline that it needs to. And our understanding, it comes to us with our own understanding that we need to. One of the other parts in your chart is a gate. Now, a gate is these lines. They have all these squiggle lines on the chart and it looks like this hot mess. But when they're colored in, there is a gate. It's called a gate. And the definition of this is these are another gifts that you were born with. They're really specific. They're not like, oh, you were born to play the piano, but they're characteristic gifts that we get to have. And so you have a lot of gifts around your throat center, which is your gift of communication. That's another green center that you have. And one of the gates that are coming around that gift of communication is this gate 31, and it says, and the mantra is, my words create meaningful momentum. Influence is your gift through your voice. You're meant to speak. You're meant to share. You're meant to let's do this, through your voice. And really that authentic voice, people listen when you speak because you speak with this intention. You speak with this influence in a good way, they're just listening to what you have to say, listening to those messages. They can feel it energetically hit their soul because you have a gift of landing those messages. Was there ever a time where you were holding back your voice? You didn't want to speak. You found in yourself shushing yourself to either allow others to shine or to people please or...
Oh man, I like to talk.
Yes.
So I like to talk. And I will say, when I had my private practice, one of the things I had to do was learn to listen better. And so that way, it wasn't, in certain situations, sharing my knowledge and my experience is absolutely, it's exactly what's needed. But in a lot of situations too, the gift of listening is important. And I had to learn that. I had to learn that this session is not about you, Shannon. This session is about your patient. And people are coming to therapy. We think people are coming to therapy to be fixed, but really they're coming to be heard, So anyway, so I had to really work on that. I remember when I was going through my internship, my supervisor being like, okay, so in this 40-minute session, you talked 32 minutes. You know what I mean? And it was like, oh my gosh, and it's not supposed to be that way. And so I really had to learn how to listen. And I think I do. I think the difference is I've always thought I am listening. I'm almost listening with my body. Even when I'm talking, I'm listening. I can tell where it's going. I can tell how it's being received. And I can mid-sentence change my energy and my everything about myself based on how I'm thinking it's receiving or feeling how it's being received. And so I think I always thought I was listening and paying attention, but really I was having to also, I really did need to be a little quieter so that way they could really actually project their own voice. So I think that in itself has been something I've had to learn is okay, I do have to be quiet sometimes so that I can really hear what's happening. And it's not even the words, right? It's just it's them expressing themselves with words, but that's I can go into reading their body and their whole energy and the whole nine yards. I feel what they're feeling, but they need to say the words. People need to say the words, and I need to allow that space for it. So I would say that is definitely the time that I had to learn that. But again, it's made me a better communicator, because I do now. I used to always interrupt because I would know exactly what they're going to say, because I've been there. I've experienced it, including in therapy. I've had sexual trauma. I've had physical abuse. I've had this. I've had all of it, my head, my ego's getting there, whatever. And it's really like, Shannon, stop, allow them to share. And then you can share some empathy. But yeah, so I've had to learn not to interrupt and to listen and to allow other people to have their voice as well.
And that's a really good point too, because some of these gifts that we have can also be our greatest challenges. You have the gift of speaking, you have all these gates surrounding that gift. So it's like Shannon is meant to speak and talk and do all these things. But then on the flip side, it can be too much, and it's really finding out those harmonies that come with using these gifts and really being in tune with listening. I think one of the greatest skills that we can have throughout our whole entire life is to be teachable, and to be teachable about what do we need to learn? What are other people helping us to learn? And what is our own body saying to learn? What spiritually are we here to learn? Like all these things can help us in that process to refine these gifts and to use these gifts. But also you have this beautiful gift that you can have hard conversations with. You can reach people in deep times, but you can help them to have the momentum that you feel as well. And that's so beautiful. One of the strategies with this is that your voice will create ripples. And because we love people, sometimes we're like, but the best thing that you can do is just to land that authentically, and just to be like, what, this is what's going to happen. And the outcome will be something that they need, something that I need. It's trusting yourself even more throughout this time. Now, Shannon, I know that people want to get into your world. I know they want to hear about all the things that you do and get connected with you. What is the best way that they can do that?
Probably to visit my main website, which is mindbodycomplete.com. That's my main website. You can also just go to shannonjamail.com, which will take you to the page about me on that website, but either one will work. And then I'm on all the socials, and they're all linked on that website as well.
Awesome. Oh my goodness. Well, this has been so great to have this time with you, get to know like all your experiences and how that you have learned and that you're willing to share with other people. And I'm so grateful that you've been here today. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Courtney, thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun.
So great. Listeners, thank you so much for being on the show today. Thank you for being a part of this. If you haven't pulled your human design chart, go in the show notes, pull your human design chart. We can get connected. And remember that you get to embrace your power, because your process is not a detour, it's the point. All right, we'll see you all in the next episode.